On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Joe Scire of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. Joe, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Yeah, Chris, happy to be here, man. My current role right now is I serve as the team dietitian and coordinator of performance nutrition for the Arizona Diamondbacks. A little bit about my journey to how I got here and everything. We were just talking about, I grew up in New Hampshire and went to University of New Hampshire. I studied biochemistry, molecular and cellular biology with the thought that I actually wanted to be a pharmacist. It was a little early in my days, and I didn't realize that being a dietitian, or you could intertwine sports and being a dietitian and kind of working those in. I didn't even know that wasn't even on my radar. So it was kind of through my academic journey that I was exposed to nutrition and dietetics. And what was really transformative in my life is that my senior year, my undergrad, actually, I was lucky enough to shadow for one day. I remember this very vividly. The dietitian for the Boston Bruins. He was a consultant, so he ran his own private practice, and he did like consults with the Bruins on the side. And I thought that was like a huge moment in my life. I was like, oh my God, you can intertwine like these nutrition with professional sports. You can be involved in sports, and that was huge. So that planted a seed in my mind. Fast forward, graduated undergrad. I worked in biotech after that for about 4 years. We were in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So, just a biotech company there, and it was really working on how do I get to become a dietitian, right? Like kind of taking the prerequisite courses of, okay, so how do I obtain enough, like prerequisites to even get into a program that allows me to study nutrition. And that was a 4-year journey, kind of digging in on that. And then fast forward 4 or 5 years after that, I got into Ohio State University's coordinated master's program with a specialization in medical dietetics and sports performance. And that was another thing that really just fueled the fire of wanting to be involved in sports nutrition and really performance based. So there I was lucky enough to get experience with their Olympic sports, a little bit with their football, not a ton, but a little bit, and really their baseball. And that's what was a hook, line, and sinker for me, really, of, okay, baseball nutrition, baseball culture. Like, I grew up playing it. Grew up watching baseball all my life. And, at the end of my time at OSU, after graduated the master's and worked there for a little bit, I was talking with my wife about, all right, what's our next move and what will allow us to both grow in a way of, in our professional careers, and moving out to Arizona was one of those. It was like, okay, spring training's here, ton of teams are here. It's either here or Florida, and we don't do well in the humidity. So we're like, all right, Arizona's it. And then I was lucky enough to get connected with someone that's really influential in my life now, and that's Ken Crenshaw, and the director of sports medicine here at the Diamondbacks. And he basically offered me an internship. It was like, hey, you can come in for as long as you want and intern with us, and we'll see how you do. And that opportunity led to being offered a coordinator role on the minor league side, which then eventually transitioned to a major league role, coordinator and team dietitian. And I'm heading into my 3rd season with the Diamondbacks now. So it's been a journey, and I think I used to think that everyone had a really straight line to get into sports, and I was kind of the odd man out. But then after talking to other people and yourself, of like, okay, everyone's got a crazy path to get into where they are now.
So you moved to Arizona without any real like prospects for a job? You just kind of were like, there's baseball teams there, that's my best chance to get in?
Yeah, I had one conversation with Ken, Um, and he was like, "Yeah, I think we can get you an internship." And that was it. That was enough. I was like, "Okay, if that doesn't work out, then something else will." There's 14 other teams there, and it's a hub. Like, I'm kind of betting on myself. Like, I'll do anything. I'll whatever I need to do to get in the door. I'm going for it. So yeah, that was the move.
That's a really valuable lesson. And I have moved on from baseball. I'm at a different role now. And part of my role is overseeing interns. And that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to teach them. And although they're, strength and conditioning, sports performance, like I think it's relatable to anybody across the board. It's like you kind of make your own luck sometimes and you have to bet on yourself. And, sometimes it fails. And like you said, if that wouldn't have worked out, like something else would have come up for you. And I think people are a little bit afraid to take that jump sometimes. And I think if your goal is to get into pro sports, you're going to have to move. It's going to be a less than ideal situation at first. There's going to be a ton of sacrifice that you have to make. But again, if that's your goal, or wherever you want to go to the college setting, professional setting, high school setting, like you have to take risks. Sometimes you have to bet on yourself, and even at the expense of not knowing what's going to happen, sometimes you got to just jump and trust that it's going to work. So kudos to you on that one, man. That's a really big move, but I'm glad it worked out for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you hit the nail on the head too, of like this idea of uncertainty too. I think is something that can be really scary to a lot of people. It was certainly scary to myself, like going through all that and looking back on it and reflecting. And that's something I'm glad you're teaching that to interns. And I likewise, I try to pass that down to other people of, hey, there's inherently going to be some uncertainty in your life, but if you want it bad enough, like if you say you're committed to getting into baseball or being in professional sports, like that's what comes with it. And it's not bad. It's just, okay, you might not know your next move. And you might have to be open-minded to shifting and wearing a lot of hats, or even just getting an opportunity. Yeah. Did I want to take an internship role after graduating and working for the Bucks? It was like, no, if I'm being honest, no, but like it was the thing that was gonna the stepping stone, I guess. And it was like, okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, man. I think some of the younger generation that I've kind of been around, either here or when I was in baseball, they kind of just want to make like this step to the big leagues, or like, hey, I got my degree, I got a little experience. Like, why am I not full time yet? And it's like, well, some people that are full time that have X amount of years, experience, connections, they just got fired and they're also applying for that same job you did. So sometimes you have to take a quote unquote lesser role, for a long-term gain for yourself. The other thing that you mentioned that I don't want to go without talking about is you said you shadowed one day with the Bruins dietitian. And it's really cool to hear that, because I have had one intern with me when I first got to my new facility, that I knew he was passionate about strength and conditioning, but I don't think he realized he could do it in the baseball setting. And so I set up for him to kind of go see what a day in the life is. I took him to a couple complexes, and all of a sudden he becomes this new guy. And he's like, oh, I can do this job in baseball. I love baseball. Like, I didn't realize this was a thing. And now he's working full time in baseball. So it kind of comes full circle that if you have the opportunity to help the next generation, sometimes it is a pain to do. But I really think we owe it to the field to just listen. Sometimes you have to take 10 minutes out of your day to just go out of your way, and you really don't want to. But that can be a life-changing event for somebody. And for that guy, it was probably just like, yeah, here's another student coming to shadow. But for you, that was like one of the most influential days of your life. And so it's a responsibility that if you do oversee others, especially young coaches or practitioners in the field, that you shouldn't take lightly. And if you see any sort of spark or, passion, or just maybe they're just misguided at the moment, and you can kind of guide them in the correct direction, like I say, we should probably take the time to do that. Because again, like yourself, you never know, if he didn't give you the time of day, like how different your life could be.
100%. Could not agree more. It's like you have to look at it as like kind of an honor to serve the next generation, right? There's got to be a wave after you, and that's really what lasts too. It's like, yeah, you can be excellent, but what are you doing for the next generation coming up, and how are they going to get better too if they never get an opportunity? And I hear you 100%. I think sometimes you get bombarded with, LinkedIn messages and emails, and it's like, oh, even if you have every intention of getting back to them, it's just, in the season, I know for myself, it gets so crazy. It's like, that's just on the back burner. But I like the way you framed it. It's like, you have a responsibility to those students coming up, to give them the time of day to answer their questions, or at least give them an opportunity to organize their thoughts in a way and be impactful in that way. And I think, yeah, 100%, it's our responsibility to do that.
Yeah, and fully transparent. I'm not always perfect at it, not even close, especially when I was in baseball and I was in season. To all the people that reached out to me that I never got back to because of the chaos of the schedule, it is an excuse. I am sorry. I am trying to work on it. But kind of going along here, what is your best professional baseball story thus far? Either something that you're really proud of, something that makes you laugh, something that makes you smile. Just what is most memorable to you thus far?
Yeah, it's great. There's so many stories that come to my mind. I think something that I'm most proud of, is, let me think, working with athletes. And I don't want to name any names, but like working with athletes and allowing them to express their concern, or having something go on in the field, right, that inhibits their performance, and then really sitting down and diving into the objective data behind, hey, what are we doing daily that is creating that hindrance on the field, right? Like, what are you, in my instance, it's like, what are we putting into our bodies? What are our routines like that, hey, when you go on the field, maybe you run out of gas in the fifth inning. Maybe it's maybe you're cramping up, things like that. It's like, okay, so I've had a lot of interactions, in the past couple of years too, of it's just really rewarding to sit down with those guys and to pick it part by part and really understand, hey, connect the dots of what you're doing on a daily basis, right? The 5 days or the 4 days that you're not starting, and what you're putting in your body impacts that one day that you are starting. And like, to watch that kind of, can watch their eyes. And these are grown men, so like, obviously they've heard these things. These are not new concepts, but to really show that, one, I care enough to dive into things with you and sit down with you and talk one-on-one, and I want your feedback and things like that. And just watch them kind of make those connections, and how that translates to the field is something that's maybe it's not the most entertaining story, but it's certainly something I'm most proud of my interactions here with the Diamondbacks, and the success we've had in the past, at least past couple of years. So
Yeah, I think the big thing there is like how to make things stick with guys. You said like they've all heard it a million times. And again, whether it's a strength coach listening, dietitian, athletic trainer, just anybody, like most of us have heard the things that are going to make us better and conversely going to make us worse. It's just a matter of finding a way to make the message stick enough that actual change happens. And change is very hard, especially in season. Guys get in their routines. They really don't want to listen sometimes. But finding ways to connect with guys and really making those meaningful impacts, and then having them come back to you and being like, I appreciate you taking the time to do that for me, because that has actually helped me in the following ways. It's very, very impactful to be a part of. It's really cool that you're able to do that. And, we'll get into your job a little bit more here in a second, but I just want to say, like, it's very hard to make things stick. And if you can, it's a huge, huge win. And it's nothing groundbreaking, I don't think. It's just a matter of finding a way to get through to them sometimes. That is honestly the biggest victories we have.
yeah, definitely. And I think strength and conditioning and nutrition are really similar in that way of like, it's hard to make things stick because the results take a long time. Like, we need a long runway, right? Like, I'm sure, like, if you want a guy to be in better shape, right, or conditioned in a certain way, and so he has the energy or has the capacity to perform on the field, right? For 7, 8, 9, depending on if he's a pitcher or position player. Nutrition's the exact same way. It's like, okay, I can tell you this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Like we should have an example would be a high omega-3 index, right? It's going to help with inflammation and you feeling better and cardiovascular health and all these things. And it's going to take a few months for us to make those changes. And then they might not even be perceivable to you like day in, day out, but like overall you might feel better, right? And it's going to take a long time for these things to happen and to really take effect. So yeah, what you're saying about it's hard for things to stick, I think, especially in our fields, because we need a long runway for things to actually take effect. Whereas, and I'm not dishing on athletic trainers or docs or anything like that, but like medication, right? I know if you pop a Voltaren, you're probably going to feel pretty good and not have any pain the next couple hours. It's like an instant change. Whereas I can't provide that same reaction or that same timeline of events. So it does take that, hey, one, I care about you and I want you to perform, and the constant check-ins and things like that, and show them that you care and show them that, hey, what we're doing is actually working. It just might take a long time for it to take effect. Setting the expectations, I think, is important.
Yeah, that's really, really valid point. It's like, to me, it's almost like the only things that have an immediate impact are almost negative, right? Like if I go to McDonald's and I eat McDonald's, I'm probably not going to feel very good right after I eat McDonald's. The same that if I go in the weight room and I do a really aggressive squat workout, I'm probably not going to feel very good in the short term. But a lot of the good things that come from nutrition and training do take time. And it's not like, I think baseball's in this weird time right now where everybody's looking for feels that feel good today, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the one that's going to stick, and then like 2 weeks later it's like, no, that wasn't the one. And it's like, what if you just consistently do something instead of like constantly trying to find different things that work or different feels that work, instead of just doing the things we know or we think we know with pretty good backup and support that do work. And it's like, that is a really hard conversation, because like you said, an AT, like guy goes in with a bummed hamstring, low back, foot, whatever, shoulder, like get a rub, get some pills, get some stretching, whatever, and like, oh yeah, I feel good enough to go today. But there's not much in the weight room or like nutrition wise that it's just like, this is your quick fix, like take this and you'll be good. And if it is, it's probably not very good for you in the long term. But that's just kind of the battle we have to fight. And I think the one thing for us is like, in season is very long. So there is a lot of time to make progress and to chip away at things and to kind of see the fruit of the labor kind of come to fruition. So my next question for you is just, what do you believe in within either nutrition, performance, or sport that others think you are crazy for believing?
All right. I'm going to go with nutrition on this, and it is that avocados in smoothies is the secret ingredient to make it elite. I don't know if you're an avocado guy in a smoothie, but I get that pushback all the time here. We joke about it on the minor league side more, but I've had multiple players be like, no way, not eating avocado. Like, I like avocados, but in smoothies, that's nasty. And then I'm like, all right, just give me one shot. Let me make them. I'll make a big batch. You try it. You hate it, you'll never have to do it again. If you like it, that'll be your fat source. Like when you're making smoothies on the road or, for a recovery after games, like boom, that's the go-to. And we're doing pretty well over here in terms of the success rate. So that's certainly, like, you get a lot of pushback. It's kind of a funny topic, but yeah, I get a lot of pushback on it at first, and then boom, before you know it, we're going through 30 avocados every 2 days, and I got to run to the grocery store or order some more. So
really, so I have fully transparent, I've never had an avocado in a shake. I don't think, I mean, maybe I have and I didn't realize it. I can't imagine it like makes the taste that different, or even the consistency. Like, to me, avocados don't really taste like anything. So it's kind of just like a free win to put it in your shake.
100%. I would say the only thing, this is how I describe it, I think it creates a creamy taste. So like whatever, like say you have, a berry smoothie and you got like maybe like some hints of chocolate in there, right? Like you threw some chocolate protein. It's like it just makes it creamier. It's just that fat hits your mouth, your taste buds a little bit and satisfies it a little bit more. And then the texture, it becomes more of like less of a drinkable smoothie and more of like one that you got to let maybe melt for a minute before you attack it, and it's less liquidy, but it's a little bit more firm in its consistency. But I highly recommend you do it. I'm gonna follow up with you, Chris, after this and text you in a couple weeks and make sure that you try it and see what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna need your recipe then, because I do enjoy making a good shake. And the one thing is I'm like strawberry, banana, vanilla done, or peanut butter chocolate done. I don't usually veer off from my own. I've tried like mango and it's just not for me. So I will try it for you, as long as you send me a good recipe to make sure I don't mess it up when I do it and I'm just drinking like the greenest, weirdest shake of all time.
Yeah, 100%. I got you after this. I'm gonna text you over that recipe. I can't unveil my secret recipe on.
No, of course not. No,
It'll be a secret thread that we got, but I'm excited for you to try it.
perfect.
All right, everybody, that's going to conclude part one of this two-part interview with Joe. I hope you enjoyed this one. There are a lot of really good, valuable lessons in this one, especially on betting on yourself and helping out with the next generation. 3 things that I took from Joe in this episode: finding ways to make changes stick is what creates the most impact. Take time when you can to try to help out the next generation of coaches, and bet on yourself and put in the work to get to where you want to go. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.